Welcome back to another episode in the Unleashed Potential Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Haji, as always, alongside Mr. Abdullahi Elmi and Mr. Hassan. Good to have you back, man. We've missed you last week.
Yeah, man. Had a slight hiccup with the car, but that's all resolved now.
All resolved now, right?
Yeah,
mashallah, man. Mashallah. How you boys been, man? What'd you do on the day that, like the rest of the day, the time that you would have had for the podcast on?
I was having breakfast with my wife at the time.
Yeah.
And while I was about to park up, some white little kid just comes, knocks on the door, and he says, "Hey, you've got leaking fluid all over the place."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, look at it." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I park the car up, have a look.
Is this at home or at a...
No, well, we're headed to breakfast, right? So I parked the car up, and I opened the bonnet, and all I see is just radiator fluid just going everywhere. I'm like, oh man,
there goes breakfast.
Yeah, that's basically when I messaged you, and I was like, hey, no, can't make it. Because by the time I get it fixed and everything, it's just gonna be late. Anyway,
so that time was taken up trying to sort out the car.
Yeah, pretty much. We left the car there. I got a mate. My brother-in-law actually came down, picked us up. We left the car there. We dropped off my wife and everything. Sat down, chilled for a bit, and then when it got a little bit dark, because then it cools down, and it helps it as well. Yeah. So we went back, got the car, took it to the mechanic. That same night, it got fixed. Turns out it was just a loose hose. So
it's always the smallest and benign things that cause that always have the.
But the one thing I was happy about was I didn't let that malfunction in the car
ruin the day.
Ruin the day or ruin my breakfast or anything. I was like,
because some people's initial thought would be like, what the hell, and all colorful things would come out and then it would just ruin the day. Knowing myself, if I was in that situation, it would have gone a bit differently.
There'll be things flying. There'll be more than just a radiator leak.
But alhamdulillah, apart from that, man.
I heard the episode you guys recorded. Yeah, it was good. Bit of waffling here and there, but
it's alright.
It was good, mashallah.
Hopefully this one will be better, inshallah. Elmi's dying out here.
I'm good.
You're good?
What happened, bro? Right?
He's got a few images in his head. All good. But without further ado, we'll get right into the topic, man. Firstly, man, half the year is already gone, or more than half the year is already gone, pretty much. Time is flying. Like the other day, I just stood for a moment and I was like, "Yo, I've already been married for 7 months." Like 7 months ago, when you guys were at my wedding,
wow,
time flies. In another 5 months, it will be a year. Yeah, I mean, like,
time blink and it'll be 7 years. Yeah, inshallah.
I remember my 20th birthday like it was yesterday. I'm now 26. Alhamdulillah. You know what I mean? Time flies. Time definitely flies. And that's our topic today.
What, time flies?
No, not time flies. Leading to it. Being burnt out throughout the year. Especially as the year gets towards the middle. I think we all have a great sense of drive in the beginning and then trying to re-energize and refocus for the next year towards the end. But nobody really accounts for the middle half. And how we travel from being motivated, energetic, on top of things, and then it's like a graph, we spike up high, and then we're starting that dip throughout the middle of the year, where it should be, I think, the peak. You know what I mean?
I think at the beginning of the year, for me, I find that people are all the way at the top, and it's going, and then slowly starts to dip towards the mid-year, and I think. Primarily because at the beginning of the year, there's a lot of factors that help you feel so hyped up and motivated. One, you've got New Year's coming up.
A fresh new start.
A fresh new start in most people's cases, right? Yeah. Even though every Monday is a fresh new start or every day is a fresh new start. But so people get on that hype and say, I've got a New Year's resolution, the next 365 days, I'm just going to go all out, smash out this, and they start writing all their goals and they're so hyped about it, right? The other thing is the whole festivities. Like it's end of year for us here in Australia. It's end of year. And like you've got your family around in most cases for some. Otherwise you're just on vacation or you're on holiday. It's summertime, so the mood is good, the atmosphere is good, the vibe is good, and you've got goals and you're just looking forward to the next year.
And you're vibing off other people's energies as well.
Exactly. So you're so hype and you're starting on 10, you know, and then come mid-year, you've finished all your holidays, Easter's gone, and you got to wait until Christmas, and then your goals don't seem as exciting as it was before because you've had a few hiccups here and there, and you're
probably haven't checked off a lot of the goals off the list.
Yeah, and now you're sitting midway through the year looking back at the past year saying, man, I really stuffed up that past year. But then instead of saying the next 6 months I'm gonna go all out, you say
completely right off the next.
Yeah, you're like, no, that's it.
We'll wait for December to come around.
That's it.
They got their tax return and they're planning their holiday at the end of the year. So like already done. Next year, New Year's resolution again.
No, but I don't know. For me, I think me personally, the middle of the year is really, again, as you said, you start off the year, everybody's also on the same wave, right? So you're in connection with everybody else, everybody's checking up on each other, you know, like, yo, you good. Throughout the middle of the year is when you find yourself like to be the most alone, you know, like in terms of not, you have people around, you have friends around and whatnot, but everybody's in their own little dark corner, so nobody's really giving off the energy that you might, that little spark that you might need to vibe up again. Yeah. So like that moment, I think for me, especially like throughout the middle of the year is when all the friends start disappearing. Like, you know, not everybody else is as happy and hyped to go kick it for a bit because everybody's, again, looking at what have I done. Some people have already written the year off. How do you guys try to bounce back from that?
It's third quarter. that's third quarter. I'm not even joking.
You're absolutely right.
Now it's starting to get cold and rainy. You know, people start like, and like you said, at the beginning of the year, everyone's doing their like goals and stuff. And then now they fall into their habits. They kind of like settle into their spots. And you find yourself, it's either you and like a couple close people or depending on the goal. And it's like, I'm not going to see much people. It's time to put in that work. It's time to grind. Summer's coming at the end of the year. It's like, it's literally that time where you can hibernate and work on yourself. Like get down to a lab and work. A lot of people get depressed because of that. For me, I like working when I'm by myself a lot. Like I'll hit the gym, winter, perfect time you're by yourself or you're working on something and not a lot of people know. But there is that, how to get that motivation to do it. Like that's the hardest thing. It's really hard if you haven't really been sticking to whatever your plan was at the beginning. Because if it's 6 months gone by and you've ticked off 1 thing out of 10 or 2 things out of 10, it is so hard to get motivated for the next like 6 months. If you ticked 8 out of 10, you're going to go, I'm going to go 9 out of 10 for the next 10 things. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's easier to get into that. But like I said, like you just, whatever it was in that beginning of the year that gave you hype, whether it's going on a little holiday, even now, instead of taking a full week or 2 weeks, take 3 days, get out the country, come back, find like-minded people, just get yourself in that mindset that you were before and just work on it.
But then if I've only ticked off 1 or 2 out of 10 in 6 months and I've got another 9 or 8 things on the list for the next 6 months, like it's going to be a really steep climb.
But it depends on the person. I'm cynical, so I'll say you can either just fail and become a loser right now or just do 3 things if you did 1. Yeah. If you did,
that's true.
Rather than doing 10, put 3 on the list.
I think it comes back down to the problem that people see the year as a year rather than bite-sized chunks, you know? Like he said, third quarter. Yeah. People don't refer to the whole year, like when it comes to their goals, in terms of quarters. Yeah. Like if you looked at it and said, 2 quarters are gone. Yeah. As opposed to, 6 months is gone. Yeah. Therefore, I'll write off the whole year. Yeah. If you're looking at it in terms of the whole year, that should only happen at the beginning when you're writing your goals for the whole year. But on a day-to-day basis, consistently going out throughout the whole year, as you move forward, you should be looking at it in terms of quarters, right? From January to March, that's 1 quarter. Yeah. And then from April to June, that's another quarter, So you should be moving in quarters. So don't look at it as if like...
It helps because then some of your goals might need only a couple of weeks. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whereas if you're looking at it in 6 months or annually, like that one goal that would have taken a couple of weeks, now you're already writing off 6 months for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But also, like, let's say you wasted the whole year and it's like a week to the new year. Like, what can I do in a week? Yeah. Like, to set me up for the next year rather than it's just a week. Because people will say, it's December, the year's over. oh, it's November, the year's over. Oh, there's, you know what I mean? They give them that excuse.
I'm already saying the year is over and it's only July.
So the way I see it is, if the year's already over and you already discounted it, then why don't you just do stuff and see how far you can go? Yeah. Like,
no, I think, look, if you've already disregarded this whole year and you're saying the year is over, I would say start planning your goals for 2020 and start on them now, so that when it comes to January, you're not sitting there trying to figure out what do you want to do in 2020. So if you're trying to, if you're not trying to achieve your 2019 goals, work on your 2020 goals. At least you're working on something, you know? Yeah. Like for us, for example, when we're doing this podcasting, we break it up into seasons, right? We might have 10 to 12 episodes per season. Yeah. But after every season, we take a break, refresh, and then we get back into it. We don't say that we need to actually produce 360 episodes. Yeah. Because if that's the case, we're going to get burnt out by the time we hit the 30th episode, 40th episode. Because it's just going to feel, you know, like it's something that's just ongoing and it's never going to end. So if you give yourself, it's a bit like, you know, back when I went back home, you know, back in 2012, there was my uncle who was taking me, and this is the first time I went to his place, to his house. And his house was a long trek, right? It was about 4 hours walk. Wow. Had he told me that, I would have already given up. Yeah. What he told me was, you see that mountain there? Yeah. That's where it is. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, that's easy. I can make that in there. Yeah. Took about an hour and a half to get to that mountain. Yeah. Once we get to that mountain, he's like, see that mountain there? Yeah. It's literally there. Yeah. Just behind it. Yeah. I'm like, okay,
you've already gone an hour and a half.
There's no going back now. You get there, now it's 2.5 hours into the trek, and he's like, don't worry, we're just gonna pray Asr, and by the time we turn around from that mountain, you'll see my house. I'm like, all right, cool.
You'll see my house.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, cool. So we get there, we're about 3 hours now into it, and he's like, you see that mountain? That's my house right there. We get to that mountain, we gotta climb down. Because it's a trek like this, so you got to go up the mountain and back down the other way, just to go around it basically. So all in all, it was about 4 hour trek. But had he told me ahead of time that, you know,
it's a 4 hour trek,
so take it in that form. Like if you take it in terms of quarters, you're more likely to stick with it, and you're more likely not to get burnt out.
Plus, you would have already done enough for you to value the time and effort that you've put in to continue.
Exactly.
Because right now, that 1.5 hours that you first did, if you were to take that 1.5 hours back, that would have been 3 hours. You would only been an hour away from the house. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, why double track back when you can just push on forward? But
that's true.
That's true. How do you not get burnt out, bro? I know this guy. Every time you ask him, like, what are you up to? Like, it's like, I'm at work.
I'm at work.
He's holding down 2-3 jobs. Bro, give some to some people, bro.
Yeah, man. You're taking our jobs, mate.
You don't get burnt out. For me, it's routine, bro. You just...
I think I haven't figured out, man. We were having this discussion a bit earlier. I think he's in a permanent state of being burnt out. Where he's just part of that machine now. He's just going into work, putting in the hours, coming back out.
Yeah, well, like, alhamdulillah, man. Like, it just depends. Like, if you have goals, you just got to keep working, man. People see it, like, I see it, look, the year's there, just do whatever you can. I'm not. Of course, I don't work. Some weeks I take off, some days I take off, you know. Time to relax, kick back. You know, like you said, every 3 months you gotta, I don't do it every 3 months. I do it every now and then, just
tax return time.
Take it easy and then get back into it. You just gotta, just balance, bro.
But for you, I think for you, when it comes to like your jobs and stuff, I don't think you get burnt out because it's like muscle memory. You've been doing it for so long that now even if you wanted to take a break or wanted to take a day off, you feel kind of guilty. Like it feels weird for you, and so you feel natural and more at home and comfortable when you actually go into work.
Also, he doesn't complain as well. If he was burnt out, he'll never say he was burnt out. He'll just say, "I'm tired from work. I'm taking a day off." Yeah. He won't be like, "I'm burnt out." And
but the way I see it is, look, if you're not gonna work, you're not gonna survive, bro. Yeah, like that's what I see, bro. Yeah. In this world, firstly, we're Muslims. You gotta put Ilahi first. Yeah, Ilahi comes first, then your family and all that. Brother, you wanna survive? You wanna move forward in life?
Work.
What makes the world go round? Money, bro. Yeah, simple as that. That's the way I see it, bro.
Yeah, but your body needs a rest, and that's what I'm trying to understand. So how do you?
The thing is, the way I see it, like one wise man told me, like I hear it from a lot of wise, like mainly Somali, whatever, different nationalities. They told you while you're young, you got the energy, work hard.
Yeah.
That's what they always say. Wallah. That's what they always say. When you're young, you got the energy, work hard. Then later on, you see the fruits of your labor. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
I like his very simplistic view.
I told you, he just doesn't complain about it. He goes out there and he gets it done.
Exactly.
But this day and age, like you've got people, for example, as I said at the beginning of the year, they're so hyped up about their goals that once they get into it and they've reached about where we are now, towards the end of July, they look at the goals, right, and they say, these are really not for me. I really didn't really enjoy it, right?
Here's the thing. Sometimes it could literally be because they're just burnt out. They'll just need something to kind of like get back on track. Sometimes it was the wrong decision. And I've literally seen people go to uni and then go, this is not for me, leave, and then go, man, I should have never left. You know what I mean? And then you have the other way around. Some guy finished and it's like, if I left halfway through, I would have saved a few years doing whatever I'm doing now because I prefer it or whatever it is. Like, you got to know it. So when you set that goal, like we've talked about it when we said goal setting, a lot of people set goals because their friends set similar goals. You're doing this. I'm going to do something similar. You're getting this car. I'm going to get this. Or when you don't even need that goal. So then now you spent 6 months like working, saving up money, doing whatever it is, putting time into something. And then now you're going, I don't really want to do it anymore. And then you sit there like you're burnt out. Like you see people do all the time.
Because you've put so much effort into that one direction, whereas now it's like, what you think about is, if I take this direction now, how do I know that in 6 months' time I'm not going to come to the same road?
But the thing is, you don't know, and that's probably like a good thing, right? Because it's the whole surprise factor. And what you need to do is you look at the goals that don't really excite you, refresh them, change them up. Amend them, like adjust them and fix them so that you feel more hype now, as opposed to letting it cripple you and saying that, I spent 6 months on something that doesn't really. No, you didn't. You spent 6 months of being consistent. You've built
finding yourself.
Yeah, you've built that muscle memory, and in fact, yes, you found yourself. You've said these are really not enjoyable, but you would never have known had you not actually started on it. So now adjust them and fix them and change it up. That's how you get more hyped again.
Yeah.
I want to bring it up.
I was going to say, how do you guys prevent yourself from getting burnt out? Because for me, I don't get burnt out as often because I see it coming. I know when I see it coming because I know myself. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take tomorrow off. And sometimes I don't take tomorrow off because work, like you can't. And then halfway through the day, I'm just gone. I'm in zombie mode. I'm like, I'm gone. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, so for me personally, how I try and manage not to get burnt out.
Yeah.
I think for everybody, in fact, before you get burnt out, you really have to get burnt out to understand what your level or your maximum is that you can do. Because I feel like burnt out is also associated with too much work or too much on your plate that you can't actually manage, that you overstress, that you're not sleeping well, that you're not. So unless you get burnt out once and recognize it, then you'll never actually know how much your limit is. I know my limit and I know what boosts my energy and I know what sort of helps me not get burnt out. So if I can make sure that my salah is on time, perfect. And I can make sure that, I've gymmed at least at the day or exercised, and I'm eating right that day. And I've spent time with my family. If I can make sure these things are knocked off, then whatever it is that comes on my plate is it's additional stuff that I can manage according to that time and I'll know to make sure that I don't get burnt out. So it's these things that sort of ground me and make sure that I'm mentally okay.
Knowing your limits and having anchors.
Having anchors, absolutely.
I see it a little bit differently because I see your burnt out as in overwork. Sometimes I see burnt out as you have a goal, whether it is to save a certain amount, whatever it is, and you start doing the tasks to get you to that goal. Now you're doing 6 months of that same task over and over without even thinking about the goal. So imagine you're doing 3 months knowing you're supposed to do this, but you can kind of not really thought about why. Now you're 4 months into it and you just don't want to do it. Like you're just done. Like it's not that you're tired. You wake up, you're laying in bed, you're awake and you're like, I just don't want to go to work. And you don't even hate your job. It's not like a bad job or anything. You're like, I don't want to do it. That's called
lost sight of your goal.
That's to me is burnt out. And to me, the biggest thing is like, re-looking at your goal again. That's what gets me. Looking at my goal again, taking a bit of time off, going, okay, and reassess my goal. I took a day off because of I look back and I know I achieved a few things. I take my day off. I treat myself, and now I can go back at it. Now when I go the next day, go to work, or the next day I'm on my computer editing something, I know exactly why I'm doing that. And it just makes it way more focused. I think that's what Elmi, for him, he like he said, it's money. I know why I'm getting my job. I know what I'm getting paid. I know where this money needs to go. Yeah. So when I get up to work, I have to do it because I know it. So for him, it's pretty simple. Some people don't look at it that simple way. Some people are just like, I'm going to do this over and over and over again. And then it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm burnt out.
Yeah. Because sometimes you don't get the benefits of your work straight away. Yeah. Sometimes it's that delayed gratification that helps you, that gets you burnt out. Yeah, so it's very hard, and you can lose sight of the end goal. And so sometimes you can get burnt out because of that. I think it's like a number of different things. It depends on the person.
Because for me, it's harder for me to get physically burnt out. It's just because I'll just take... I know myself so much and I work out so much. I know my body. I know how much sleep I'll get. I'll be fine the next day. I'll rest today. I know when I'm mentally stressed and I can just take a time off. So it's harder for me to
knowing your limits is a key factor.
Because I know my limits that way physically, I know that I can't get stressed out because of overwork. Because I'm not like, hey, look, no matter what, I'm overworked. Take some time. Like you said, you know what your core stuff is that you want to handle. Anything else is extra. You can overdo
The thing is, there was a hadith on this one Sahabi who, Sahabi means companion for those who don't know, but there was this one companion who used to recite the whole Quran, I think, within a day. And he used to do it every day. Not during Ramadan. This is outside of Ramadan. And then his wife complained to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet told him, don't complete it once a week or something like that. Why? It's so he doesn't get burnt out and he doesn't lose sight of, that if you are completing the Quran continuously, doing it, eventually you're going to get bored of it. Right? So space it out, keep that love slowly, like keep it there. And he said, no, but I can complete it every day, he said to him. He said to him, then if you can, at least do it every 3 days. So
everything in moderation.
But he basically self-assessed himself and he said, no, okay, 1 week is too long for me. 1 day is what I can manage. I can actually do. I have the ability. So what's something that's healthy? What's a healthy level? He said once every 3 days. So you look at your work, you look at it, it's not just your work. Sometimes it's even like with your duties. Sometimes it's even with your career. Sometimes it's with your salah and everything. Even the salah itself, it's not 5 salah at one particular moment every single day. It's spaced out for a reason, to give you time to go back, refresh, whatever, and then come back and remember Allah again. So everything is in moderation and everything should be spaced out, and there should always be some sort of break or like reward mechanism.
Yeah, but like you said, like just giving it the space, I don't even think it's giving it, well, I agree with you, but it's also, if you're reading the whole Quran, I don't know how long that's going to take. It depends from person to person, but that's taking a lot of time. So if his goal is to read the Quran to get closer to God, and I'm just assuming if he read Quran every day and he's taking time out from his normal duties, that's also not pleasing God. So he's getting so focused into one thing. Some people do that. They get so focused into, let's say someone's getting married, they need to save money to get a wedding. So this guy's so focused on that goal of getting money, he's not spending time with his wife. The marriage doesn't even go through. You see what I mean? Some people get so focused into the task that the goal is not even there. And then they missed it and they get...
That's why you have to have everything in moderation. It's like, water is good for you.
Of course.
If you drink too much water, I want to drown my lungs, bro. You know what I'm saying? Everything in moderation, bro. Like, as in...
But that moderation differs from person to person, and you got to know your limits.
4 of us all tap the water different. The viewers, everyone's different. So you just got to figure out what works for you.
And find a healthy balance.
At the same time, keep pushing. Don't be lazy. Keep pushing. Just be consistent, bro. That's it. That's all you need. Then you reach wherever you want to reach. That's it, bro.
Keep pushing to a healthy limit.
The days like, there's some days I don't want to go to work. I don't want to do nothing. Then I just say, just push, just go.
That mental brick wall. You just gotta get past it.
Keep going.
And once you do it enough times, it's like when you hit that brick wall. Like I had that brick wall last week. I got up and went to work. I know I can do it today. You get up and do it. The more you keep doing it, and the more it just becomes easier and easier as you go on.
Yeah, of course. And you need to surround yourself with people as well. Like, I reckon if it was just me doing this podcasting, doing the editing, doing the promoting on social media, putting it out on YouTube, and actually coming up with a topic to discuss on a regular basis. If I'm doing all of that by myself...
Episode a month.
forget it, man. Like I'm gonna get burnt out straight away. Yeah. So it's not just about doing one job. It's about finding a way so that you can manage the task that you have at hand, and accept help from others. Like there's a lot of things that could be done with you and your wife, but you accept it on yourself simply because you feel like you're the man and you need to do it. No, like share it.
Yeah. Sharing is caring.
It's caring for yourself and others.
To some point. But do you guys want to add anything on that? I think we're.
What? You think we're burnt out?
I think we're burnt out.
Just realize everyone's burnt out. Because some people are burnt out and they just think that like there's something wrong. Like sometimes you get burnt out. Like we're talking about have your goals, be pushed through it. Sometimes you're burnt out. Take a rest.
Yeah.
Watch some TV.
Also,
relax. Spend some family.
Surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Like for me, you should see the guys that I work with, man. Like some of the boys, Muslim brothers.
Yeah.
Some of them, from East Africa. Some of them from West Africa.
Yeah.
These guys are like machines, bro. Once their work ethic is crazy, man. I'm telling you, bro. You see the way they work, the way they have goals. Yeah. You see that,
and that drives you.
Mashallah, they're good Muslims too. It drives you, bro.
Hold on. Didn't last week he said he's not competitive?
No.
These guys are driving me.
Somebody's keeping notes.
I want to be that person.
That's what we're talking.
Beat that person. Now, but when you see someone like mashallah, they're a lot older than me as well.
Yeah, it hypes you up.
The way they're working hard, bro, it hypes you up, bro.
Yeah.
You say, man, that's what it should be.
See, but then if they weren't working as hard, then you start thinking, yo, why am I the only one pushing this hard? And you start to think like
sometimes it's the environment that you get exposed to. Sometimes
you're exposed to as well. If you're hanging around flops that are doing nothing with their lives, you're gonna become a flop, brother.
If it's fish in a small lake,
if they're waking up doing nothing, just they don't have much going on for them.
Yeah,
you are who your friends are, bro. Yeah. You are what you surround yourself with. Yeah. You know what I mean. At the end of the day, you know what I mean. Yeah.
So be with like-minded folks and
simple, bro.
Use that to, I think, sort of exactly.
You remember the hadith or the story about Musa alayhi salam and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam who went up to the seventh heaven,
about prayer.
Yeah. And how it was 50.
Yeah.
And then Musa alayhi salam said to him, "Go ask Allah to reduce it because your people will not be able to cope." But sometimes you think about it and you're like, if we were given 50, do you think we would maintain it? Bro, sometimes we struggle with 5. Most people struggle with even 1, bro. So imagine 50. You know how burnt out you'll be?
But not only you're that, looking at just the salah. Yeah, you're just looking at the salah. Look at the rest of your life.
No, I'm not talking physically burnt out. I'm talking physically, mentally, emotionally, even like you will not be able to like do it 50 times. So the fact that he was able to actually read ahead of time. I mean, he had experience with Bani Israel. The people
were given a smaller task.
And they couldn't do it because for them it was too much. But the Prophet ﷺ, he went up, reduced it all the way to 5 basically. With
the reward of 10 that equals to the 50.
But it was that whole concept of for it being too much for someone that they will eventually burn out and eventually give up.
This being said, because I know there's some friends I have that watch this that take some advice and use it as an excuse. Like, for example, like, don't take too much. They're doing the same thing for the last 6 months and they're like, nah, bro, I don't want to do any more because I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. And you're just using that as an excuse.
No, okay, so...
No, I'm talking about some people,
I get it. But if they have that mindset, you need to understand that this body, this mind is designed to expand as you continuously do it, right?
Grow.
So... the more you eat, the more likely your stomach is going to expand and so on. The less you eat, the more it shrinks, right? So you bite off what you can chew at first.
Then you have to go a little bit more.
And slowly go a little bit more. So if you're doing the same goal right up until the mid-year and you have not refreshed it or added onto it or said, I can do a bit more and excite yourself, you're not going to expand.
But your goals should always have some sort of progressive overload. If your goal isn't, depending on the goal, slightly getting a little bit more challenging as it goes on, trust me, you will be burnt out because a year will come through, you did the same thing, you're in the same sport, and then you're just going to be like, I'm done, why am I doing this all over again? I wasted a whole year. You get burnt out. So always push a little bit further. Don't use that as an excuse.
Absolutely.
So what would be your final? From what I gather from this discussion, there's a few key factors as to why people burn out and how to stop being burnt out. But for anybody that's missed it, I think if you want to sum it up.
Sum it up would be know your goals, surround yourself with some good friends, know your limits, and take a bit of time off.
I think that sums it up nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at the big picture, but at the same time, focus more on the smaller picture. So by breaking it into sizable chunks.
That one is a big,
we talked about it before, like the beginning of the day and the end of the day should be like when you reflect on everything.
Yeah.
So when you start the day, you think about your big goal, like the whole reason why you even got up the day. And then you think about the week, then you think about the day, and then you start your day process, and then at the end of the day you refresh it and then do that.
So I mean, whatever process you adopt, it's up to you how you want to adopt it. But as long as you break it up into sizable chunks and look at that, and then when you've achieved that small chunk, take a break.
That's it.
Enjoy it. Treat yourself. Yeah. Just like we do, at the end of every season.
100%. Hey, who's planning this one?
Who is it? Where are we going?
Me and Jabbar organized the previous one.
Yeah.
We sort of...
How are you guys both taking credit for that one?
Well, the idea came up, right?
And he came up with the idea and I executed it.
Yeah,
that's right. We'll share
I think you two...
Come up with the idea.
No worries. Done.
Right.
Say less.
What, is this the last episode?
Yes, so next week.
Yeah.
Damn.
We got next
wow,
week
mashallah. It went so quick, man.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm hyped, bro. I'm hyped for next season, man.
Inshallah. We've got some things planned, but inshallah, stay tuned and catch you guys next week.